So the clip you just seen was a recent trip I had over to Egypt, one of my great dreams I've always had. I had a chance to go check out many of the great monuments in Egypt. A fabulous experience, but only possible because I got out of debt, changed my life around, started building wealth, and I started to tell my money what to do, right? I come from a poor background. I was born poor, raised on welfare, but I decided to change my life around, and it all started with one fateful decision that I can do it, right? In this video, I'm going to describe to you the reasons why saving your first $10,000, if you were born poor and raised on welfare, I'm going to describe why saving your first $10,000 is your tipping point, okay? This is my uncle. I'm able to honor my people who came before me by improving my life and changing my circumstances. My uncle passed away in 1999. Many didn't know this, but one of his greatest dreams was, he's a dreamer, he was definitely a dreamer, but one of his greatest dreams was to go overseas to a country like Egypt and speak another language. He didn't get a chance to do that, but I adopted his dream. It became my dream, and I was very honored to accomplish his dream. It gave me a lot of empowerment, and among other things. So in this video, guys, I'm gonna tell you, if you were inspired to go from a poor background, a welfare background, to achieve debt freedom and to tell your money what to do and start building wealth for you, your family, and your family downline, this video is for you. Stay tuned, guys. Again, I'm gonna tell you the reasons why saving your first $10,000 is a tipping point. Gotcha. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do. And welcome back to my channel. I'm Kminustwo. If you're new to the channel and like what you're getting ready to hear during this video, I'm gonna ask you to do one important thing for me, is to share this very valuable financial health information with someone you care and love. You believe they can use this information to their advantage going long term. Who knows, maybe you can too. How many times have I thought about it? When I first started out, I got out of debt, got my mind right first, got out of debt, and man, I saved 10 grand. I saved $10,000. For a poor kid from the hood like me that was raised on welfare, you can only imagine what was going through my mind, right? You know, I wanted to look at my account, guys. I had to look at my account. When I first saved that 10 grand first, I had $8,000 in my checking account, in my main brick and mortar bank account. And then I had a savings account attached to that account as well. And I had $2,000 in there. So I had $2,000 in there and $8,000 in my main checking account, all right? And you know what? I had to combine them. I had to switch that money from my savings account up to my checking account so I can just see what $10,000 looked like in my account. And I knew not to keep it in that account too long, right? I knew I had to go through certain strategies in my brain to get my brain wrapped up in what I was looking at, and to eventually move that money on to either a money market account or a high yield savings account. But for a long time, I tell you guys, I kept that money in that account for a long time, longer than I should have. I just wanted to get used to looking at 10 grand, right? And so that's what some initial thoughts that got in my mind, guys, as I achieved that level. And I want to give you guys some more thoughts. In my channel, I've always given you guys where I was, my perspective, where I was in my process, and that's why I want to have the particular video, this particular YouTube channel, is to portray my life, myself onto you guys. So if you guys going through something similar, or you know someone going through something similar, or thinking about going through something similar, you can help them. Show them this, right? Maybe it's helping you out, right? But I always wanted to help you guys out and kind of, show you my life, talk about my life, and show you what I was going through, tell you what I was going through, what's in my mind, what I'm thinking. And so as I go through this video, I'm going to talk about some of my initial thoughts And that's going to translate to the reasons why saving 10 grand, my first $10,000 saved was a tipping point for me in my life. All right. And so some more thoughts going through my head, guys, is initially I thought that, you know what, this is weird. It just felt weird. It felt like a good weird, but it felt like I was on another planet, man. It felt like I was on another level. You know, I always talk to you guys about taking it to another level. I actually felt that, you know, I thought a lot of things go through my head. You know what I mean? Being born poor and born on welfare. I thought about my single mom. I thought about, you know, I think about all the times when she struggled and she sacrificed to get me where I need to be in life. I thought about, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it because not just for her and me, but for all the family, for people who came after me, so they can see what I'm doing, right? For her as well, for her to see me have some success with my money, success in my finances, and let that trickle down to other aspects of my life. I wanted her to see that, but it was great for me as well. You know, I had already got some empowerment, guys, up until this point, but that just gave me a bigger lift. Some more thoughts that went through my head at the time was, damn, I got purchasing power now, right? I can walk into a store and buy something if I wanted to, right? Without looking over my shoulder going, hey, this is, am I spending somebody else's money, right? And so those were initial thoughts, man. And boy, was it empowering, more empowering. Well, I talked about the empowerment aspect of it, right? And I tell you, I knew I had to eventually get that money, you know, transferred to another account. But like I said, it was a, you know, a empowering feeling to know that I was on my way. And another thing that crept in my mind was, you know what? All the time I went through thinking that, damn, I'm getting through this. I'm getting out of debt. I'm working Dave Ramsey's program, right? The 7 baby steps, right? The first step was $1,000. You put $1,000 away. Well, the first initial step was making sure all my 4 walls were taken care of, right? My transportation costs, you know, utilities, clothing, you know, the rent, you know what I'm saying? The housing costs and things of that nature were all taken care of, right? But food, for example. But I had to make sure also that I could put my emergency fund in place. Baby step 2 was getting out of debt, right? You know what I'm saying? Putting the first lower debt first, paying off the lower debt, and then working the debt snowball method, right? Paying off the smallest debt and then working my way up to the biggest debt, right? Paying that all off. And then the next step was going back to that baby step number 1, taking that small emergency fund and making that bigger to baby step 3, increasing that emergency fund, small emergency fund, up to the large emergency fund. And my initial emergency fund, guys, was that 10 grand, right? And so I had such an empowering feeling even when I got to that point. But I'm thinking, as I got to this point, I'm looking at in my main bank account, $10,000. I mean, guys, I went to that. I can't tell you how many times I stared at 10 grand in my main bank account, snuck away from work looking at it, right? Whenever I got a chance, I want to look at it. But as I looked at it, I'm going, was that a false sense of empowerment I went through? Or is this real, right? And it took a couple of days to go, wow, this is real. This ain't no dream. I actually have, from a poor kid like me, that I had a welfare mentality up until I was 45 years old. Damn, this is real. This is real, man. This is a real empowerment I'm going through right now. So we talked about empowerment, but it was more about the self-confidence as well, guys. Went through my process, getting more self-confidence in my financial health, right? And that trickled down to other aspects of my life, right? I got more confident on my decision making, right? And we talk about, you know, it was my first sign of auto payment, right? I started to getting confidence in my financial decision making, right? So again, it was my first sign of, you know, eventually I switched over that emergency fund. I combined the 10 grand from savings and checking, combined them, switched them over to a credit union, which I had a money market account. So that stayed in there, but it gave me a confidence to move forward on other aspects of my life, right? Knowing that I was protected financially made me have self-confidence enough to guard against other pitfalls out there, right? Other pitfalls, relationship pitfalls, for example, right? I decided to, have more of a strict parameters on as far as who saw me, the dating world, for example, right? I decided to not date. I was going to date. I dated a little bit after that, but I decided that if I was going to date someone, they were going to go through a very regimented process if they want to have a date with me, right? Not to be stuck up or arrogant, but that's what I had to do. I became more intentional, right? And at one point, when I was up in Minnesota, I went dateless. I didn't want to be around anyone, guys. My main focus went from that kind of thing to my money, right? Getting that bag and grinding, getting that bag and grinding every day, right? And I would date every now and then, but for a long stretch of time, I went dateless for about, it must have been 5 years at least. And so that strict mindset I had was to focus on me and my grind and to get my money on, right? And so that time period I just told you about really powered my net worth and shot my net worth up, because I was just focusing on stacking bills, stacking it. And when you're debt free, you don't owe anybody anything, you already got 10 grand on the side, your backup system as your bodyguard, you feel free in your mind, body, and soul to go out and make it happen. My loneliness, again, before, my alone time for me and my purpose really fed that, right? They fed off each other, right? My purpose and my grinding and stacking my money and getting my mind right and sharpen my mind, really focus on those things and really focus on and helping me out and for the long term. It was the first sign also of, you know what? I didn't have to worry about the small things affecting my game, right? As before, when I went through processes of getting out of debt, I didn't have to worry about the emergencies, right? We talk about kicking Murphy's Law's ass. I didn't have to worry about the small emergencies, the small emergencies affecting the bigger game, right? Your tire on your car going flat when you're trying to get to work, right? Or a bill coming out of nowhere that you're not prepared for, right? Collection bills, collection debt, people calling you, right? All these kind of small things affecting the bigger game, those things went away. And you guys be surprised, you get to that point in your life, you'd be surprised how those little small nagging things affect the bigger game. And not having those around really, talk about my blood pressure, right? You notice that also, guys, is that my blood pressure, I felt better at night. I felt better when I woke up in the morning time, right, to go do my grind. My blood pressure was lowered, and I didn't wake up like I did before. I would have, a lot of sleepless nights. I've already worked. When I was going through my process, I worked all the time, and I slept like 3 and 4 hours a night. And when I tell you guys that, some of you guys have seen my videos before. Literally, I slept 3 and 4 hours a night, and a lot of times I wouldn't even get that. I would wake up in cold sweats. Those kind of things went away, right? As I got through my 10 grand process, right, of putting that emergency fund away in a credit union and a money market account, right? So I want you guys to understand that when you go through this process, hopefully you'll feel like I did. Everybody's process is going to be different, but my hope is for you guys out there that when you go through this process, you'll feel the same or something similar and have more of a freeing feeling in your life, right? Where you feel it in your heart, mind, body, and soul. You look at me now and I go through all my accounts, and I just like way back in the day, as I looked at that 10 grand in my main bank account, 'cause I wanted to see it. I go right now, I've extended my net worth. Now I'm well over $100,000 net worth now, and I still look at my accounts. I got multiple accounts now. I look at them. I go online now. I get on my browser and I go through one at a time, right? My 6, 7, 8 different websites at one time. I look at all my accounts and going, yeah, it's still there. yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. But it's something magical when you see that it's your net worth is going up, going up, going up. It goes down maybe a little bit, then it goes up with all my different things out there. But it's great to see that, man, and to have that initial 10 grand, propel me to this point is a great thing. I mean, I had thoughts of possibly living somewhere else, taking to another level, living in a better place. As I talked to you guys earlier, you guys have heard me, some of you long-term guys know that I lived in like a condemned building at the time of my transition. You know what I'm saying? I had just gotten out of debt. I had just moved to a better apartment building in the Minneapolis area, but I came from an apartment, was going through a lot of this. I was living in an apartment that was scheduled to be condemned. So I got out of that, went to a better place. But so those were some of my initial moves after getting in my debt-free process. So I was thinking of what's possible long-term, right? What's possible long-term? All the things I can do, right? Giving back to my community, travel in the future, right? I still had to work hard. There was I wasn't out of it yet, guys. I still had to work hard. And there were still some dark days and prevailing thoughts in my head to either stop or give up. But with the help of my three angels here, they wouldn't let me give up. I got connected to my grandfather, my uncle, and my man Oscar, who I called a pseudo stepfather at the time. My mother had dated Oscar for a long time, and he showed me the skill of working hard. And so he had to be on my arm when I got to be successful as well. And he was very, very instrumental in showing me hard work, and that's what got me through my process and then get me through my process now of building wealth. So I got connected with them. Their spirits would not let me give up, man. And so the thoughts in my head going forward, guys, were great thoughts, because the more I went on and the more I went on to build wealth, the better I felt. The better I felt about my future. And I had to get to a point where I thought what they helped me out with, my three spirits helped me out, was that I had to get over the fact that initially when I was doing good, building wealth, after with my 10 grand, and I was working hard. I was still working 2 or 3 jobs. And like I said, it was tough. And I felt alone. I was alone, right? At the time, I was up in the Minneapolis area. I didn't know a lot of people, and I separated from my girlfriend. We had moved on for our relationship, which led to me being on the street again, which led to me being in that condemned apartment building I told you about. Then I moved on after I got my 10 grand, moved on to a better apartment building. But I had disassociated myself with a lot of people, including a long-term friendship up there. So I was really, truly alone. And what my spirits helped me out with was that my being alone was actually an asset for me, because I can get by myself. And had that mentality of me against the world. That was one of my greatest assets, along with me, my car, and my jobs. They helped me realize, right, in that mirror, right, in that mirror of commitment to myself, right. As I stared myself in the mirror many times, they helped me. My spirits helped me resolve that in my brain, that those things I just told you about were my assets. What I had to do, those were, when you're alone, with nobody around you, no family support, no friend support, when you're alone like that, those things are your assets. And they were my assets, okay? And so these are the reasons why that 10 grand, having that 10 grand as my backup system, favored me, guys. It favored me to have a great outlook on life, because I had to realize that was my bodyguard, right? I was kicking Murphy's Law's ass, right? Murphy's Law, something's going to happen to you. It's going to happen when you're not prepared. And I felt prepared. All that time I went through, all those dark days I went through to get to this point, I finally felt some security. I finally felt like, you know what? I'm not going to have the demons from the past. What are demons from the past? Car repossessions, right? getting kicked out. At this point, I was already in my journey in Minnesota. I was already on the street twice, right? Living on the street twice and trying to make it. I was not going back to the streets, right? I was not going to have my car repossessed. I was not going to, have somebody, put a lien on my property or garnish my wages, right, at my job. All those prevailing things that happened in the past, they were now starting to get resolved in my head, and I can feel good about where I was going in life, right? Feel good about my future. I feel good about all that hard work I went through. I was finally having some fulfillment out of it. Talking about empowerment. I was finally starting to have some great thoughts about my future and where that's going to lead to, guys. And these are powerful reasons for a guy like me that felt alone and that took that obstacle and turned it on his head. That's what I did. I started looking forward to obstacles. I started looking forward to obstacles coming toward me that I can kick their ass and turn it all around and flip it. And so it'd be in my favor. And that's what I started doing. And that's how I went from 10 grand up to where I am now. And but I had to go through that process where I embraced the security of having that 10 grand in the bank. And that allowed me to do some other things that I wanted to do. All right, and lastly, guys, I had to realize that looking at me in the mirror, in my special mirror I looked into, my special empowerment mirror, I had to realize that I was my greatest asset. If I was going to propel me to where I am right now, I had to realize that number one started with me. Being alone was, again, we talked about me being alone was my great asset for me. It trickled to me being my greatest asset. Know that no one was going to come to my rescue. My brother was not going to come to my rescue. My daughter was not going to come to my rescue. My mother was not going to come to my rescue. The United States government was not going to come to my rescue, right? Nobody was going to come to my rescue but me, right? And that serves as more and more empowerment. The more I went through this thing, I stuck out my chest. Me, myself, and I got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? To the point where I became my own Superman, right? I became my own God, right, guys? Because the empowerment was within me all along, as my three spirits would say. The empowerment was in me all along. I just had to reach in, grab it, and propel myself forward, right? And that's what generated this thing, right, guys? I started going from hard work to smart work, right? There's a such thing as smart work, right? Initially, I had to put in, to get that first 10 grand, I had to put in a lot of grinding, a lot of hard work. But after that, it started trickling and manifesting itself to smart work, right? And that's where I got myself into. That was another tipping point of the 10 grand that led to me thinking ingenious, creative ways to, help myself going forward. I just released my last video, and you guys can see that, how I thought in a creative ways to make my PTO time of my full-time job I had before, way back when, creating 2 paychecks out of 1 job. Guys, go back and check out that video. I just released it last week. You guys can see that video. That's what I'm talking about. Those are some things I did to think smart, right? Smart work, right? And so that smart work led to more empowerment, which led to me, working, but not just working, right? Using my work as a springboard to stack more bills, stack more money, and put my money into investments, right? And so that led to more and more empowerment. And as I got more and more up the ladder of my net worth, I start helping other people. People start noticing. They start asking me questions. That led to me answering financial health questions, increasing other people's financial literacy, feeling good about it. You're right. Getting more self-confidence, more self-esteem, more confidence, and more empowerment, and start helping other people. And you know what? That mindset led to me branding Kminustwo. And I start promoting it. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do, which led me to you guys. All right. And that further led to me, empowering my purpose. And that's the life I live now, guys. And That's what that 10 grand initially did. That was the tipping point. All those things I just told you about were that 10 grand led to the tipping point, what I just told you guys about. And that led to me being here right now as I talk to you guys. All right. If you guys have any questions, I always leave my personal email down below. Anybody interested in me helping them out with their budgeting, to put them on a platform to build wealth, right? You can't build wealth unless that platform is secure, right? I'm doing volunteer work to help people out there to give back to the community. I'm always, now I don't have a lot of time, but I have some time available to help you out, answer questions, and put you on a platform to build wealth. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'll leave my personal email down below, all right? We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's take it to another level. Raise the bar. Only then can we toast to ancestral stars. Peace.